Some people say revenge is a dish best served cold. I disagree. I think it's a long, slow meal you prepare for years, and you make them sit at the table and watch you eat every last bite. My name is Helena Montez, and from my corner office overlooking the concrete canyons of New York City, I can tell you that the best revenge is not a loud explosion, but a quiet, permanent shift in power. I am a senior bank executive, a title that sounds important and safe. But it is just a mask for what I really do. I move fortunes, I build empires from whispers and decimal points, and I do it all with a smile that never quite reaches my eyes. It started 10 years ago. Back then, my world was smaller, warmer, and built on a foundation of lies I mistook for love. I was engaged to a man named Jacob, a man with a charming smile and ambition that burned almost as brightly as my own. My best friend Clara was supposed to be my maid of honor. The three of us were inseparable, a perfect triangle of friendship and future plans. The scent hit me first, not her perfume but his. That specific sandalwood and bergamot cologne I had bought him for his 30th birthday, clinging to the collar of Clara's coat as she hugged me goodbye after our weekly brunch. My blood went cold. In that moment, the world didn't shatter. It simply went silent and sharp, like a pane of glass just before it cracks. I did not confront them. I did not make a scene. A public breakdown gives your enemies power. And I knew instinctively that they were my enemies now. I simply smiled, helped her with her coat, and closed the door on the rest of my life. A new life began that night, one built not on love or trust, but on numbers, strategy, and the patient, unwavering certainty that one day the accounts would be settled. I broke the engagement quietly, citing the classic, boring excuse of growing apart. Jacob seemed relieved. Clara looked guilty for a moment, then relieved too. They were married within a year. I sent a nice, expensive crystal vase as a gift, a perfect symbol of something beautiful, hollow, and easily shattered. While they were building a home, I was building a fortress. I poured every ounce of my rage, my grief, and my shattered trust into my work at the bank. I worked longer hours than anyone. I took risks no one else would dare. I studied obscure global markets while the city slept. I learned to read the greed and fear in a person's eyes and translate it into profit. My personal accounts, managed through a series of anonymous holding companies, began to swell. I was no longer just an employee. I was becoming a silent force, a ghost in the financial machine. Jacob's own career, built on charm and risky ventures, began to falter. He and Clara overspent, living a life they thought they deserved. I watched from a distance, tracking their mounting debts with the detached interest of a biologist observing a failing experiment. They sold their house. He lost his business partner. She had to go back to work in a job she hated. Each piece of bad news was a small, cold drop of satisfaction. I never interfered directly. I did not have to. I just had to wait for gravity to do its job. And that's when I knew the first phase was complete. If you love Helena's journey, like and subscribe to join her next chapter. The day finally came 5 years later. My assistant buzzed me to say the next candidate for the senior analyst position was here. It was a mid-level role, solid but unremarkable, reporting directly to my department head, which meant ultimately reporting to me. I had not looked at the resumes myself. I trusted my team for the initial screening. When my assistant said the name, Jacob Sterling, I felt a tremor, not of surprise, but of arrival. I told her to send him in. He walked into my office, and his face was a perfect mask of confusion. Then, dawning horror. He was expecting a stranger, not the ghost of the woman whose heart he had broken. The power in the room shifted so fast you could almost hear the air crackle. He stood frozen, his 10-year-old suit suddenly looking cheap under the recessed lighting of my office. His resume was in my hands, a testament to a decade of bad decisions and dwindling prospects. I smiled, that same calm, distant smile from the day I closed the door on him and Clara, and gestured to the chair opposite my desk. He sat, looking like a man awaiting a verdict. I conducted the interview with flawless professionalism. I asked about his professional gaps, his failed startup, his vision for the future. I made him sell himself to me. I made him articulate his desperation without ever using the word. I watched the sweat bead on his forehead as he tried to reconcile the woman he remembered with the woman sitting before him. The woman who now held his entire future in her manicured hands. He thought I would turn him away. He probably expected me to gloat, to throw his betrayal back in his face. That would have been too easy, too quick. An explosion is over in a moment, but a slow burn lasts a lifetime. I hired him. People on my team thought it was strange, maybe even a sign of forgiveness. They were wrong. Forgiveness is an ending. This was a beginning. Every morning, he has to walk past my glass-walled office. Every week, he submits reports that land on my desk for approval. In every major meeting, he sits at the far end of the table, while I sit at the head. He sees the life he could have had, the power he threw away, every single day. He has to call me Ms. Montez. Clara knows, of course. I can only imagine their conversations at night, the bitter taste of his failure and my success filling their tiny apartment. My revenge is not in yelling or in firing him. It is in his complete and utter irrelevance. It is in the quiet, daily humiliation of him being a small, replaceable cog in the machine that I built from the ashes of the world he and my best friend tried to burn down. He works for me now, but he'll never understand the real price he paid. To see how I handle the next challenge, make sure you follow for the next episode. You will not want to miss it.